Greetings and welcome to Hidden Scriptural Truths Revealed. This video deals with what the religious leaders of Israel learnt during their 70 years of exile in Babylon, and what happened after their return in 538 BCE concerning vital Hebrew names and a corruption of the Hebrew text. Post-exile period. My initial question was a test to see how little the Messianic groups knew about the roots of Judaism. I've been saddened, shocked and disappointed with their lack of comment and acknowledgement that closely resembles the same reaction experienced from Christian organizations. Is it denial and a case of let's not rock the boat? My question: why was the famous Old Covenant leader's name spelt Yod-Heh-Vav Shin-Ayin, Yahusha, the son of Nun, changed after the return from exile in Nehemya chapter 8 verse 17 to Yod-Shin-Vav-Ayin, Yeshua, the son of Nun? This is my response to an answer I received from the rabbi of a Messianic group in the United Kingdom. Here's an exception who had the guts to reply. Thank you for responding to my email. I must admit that your comment concerning the way the name of the famous Old Covenant leader was allowed to be shortened for an economical, lazy reason surprised me. This leader's qualifications were incredible. He surpassed Oliver Cromwell, who is claimed to be one of the most important figures in the history of the British Isles. What would historians say if for laziness his name was changed to Ollie? Please allow me to answer my original question, as I believe it to be important for your ministry. After reading Rabbi Matithyahu Glazer's book, The Mystical Glory of Sabbath and Festivals, I had decided to enroll in a course to study Hebrew. This is a long factual note, but I feel things are not right, and I need to get this information off my chest for the sake of sincere Jewish people, Messianic groups, and Christians as well. On the course, I became friends with Daniel, an Israeli Messianic believer who was fluent in Hebrew and had studied the roots of Judaism. He had lived in Israel all his life, had recently relocated to South Africa, decided to attend the course merely for the fellowship and to make new friends. After hours, I learnt a lot from him that was not covered in the lectures. I'm deeply indebted to him for opening my eyes to the truth and the guidance of the Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit, in absorbing this information. During the 70 years in exile, the religious leaders learnt and picked up false traditions and teachings that became so ingrained that they were eventually brought back to Israel. 1. The name of a supreme deity was not to be known by the common people, only the priests. 2. The name of YHWH was declared ineffable, as was any name starting with the letters Yod-Heh. 3. To confirm this, Daniel suggested I buy the Tanakh. Wanting to check all things, I went to a Jewish bookseller and asked for a Jewish Bible. They tried to sell me the Pentateuch and Haftorahs, but when I asked for a Tanakh, they read the introduction to me. Excuse me. This work, which gives the text in Hebrew and English, accompanied by a brief exposition of both the Pentateuch and Haftorahs, for use in synagogue, school and home, supplies a long-felt want among English-speaking Jews. This introduction was made by Dr. J.H. Hertz, late Chief Rabbi of the British Isles. They thought this would convince me, but when I insisted on the Tanakh, rather than lose a sale, they sold me the 1988 edition of the Koren Tanakh, called the Jerusalem Bible. The first vowel pointing error, an E instead of an A. I told Daniel the story, and he said he was not surprised, and would explain the reason later, as this dealt with over 46 missing Messianic prophecies left out in the Haftorah. He did not trust vowel pointing. That was only completed between the 6th and the 10th century CE by Babylonian academics whose object was to hide the true Hebrew names and cause confusion. I shall expand on this in my commentary to the translators of the Koren Tanakh. 4. Together we read the introductory notes in the Tanakh. Quote, in all other editions, the name of the Lord, YHVH, is printed with nikud, vowels, which may mislead the reader to read this name as it is strictly forbidden to do. This name has to be read in the form of ADONOOT. The name YHVH appears 6,961 times in the Tanakh and is translated as Lord. 5. Daniel turned to Malachi chapter 1 verse 11 and read, for from the rising of the sun until it goes down, my name is great among the nations. He asked me how this prophecy could happen if this name is not known to the nations. 6. I've now written to the publishers of the Koren Tanakh asking them to put our observations of blatant errors to the translators for their comment. The list follows on from here. 7. First we shall deal with the forbidden name that has no scriptural foundation in the Torah and is only found in the Babylonian Talmud. 8. I asked the publishers if they or any of their family and Jewish friends knew how to pronounce YHVH correctly. To prove its importance, I quoted Joel chapter 3 verse 5 from the Tanakh. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name YHVH shall be delivered. In the King James Version, it is chapter 2 verse 32. 9. To help Jewish people, Messianic believers and Christians, I shall explain how this name YHVH of the Creator is scripturally pronounced. A. We know from Tehillim, Psalms, chapter 68, verse 4, that after the Y and before the H is the vowel A. After this comes the Vav, that is also called a W, because this is exactly what it is, a double U, being a long U sound, as in Netanyahu. We now have the first three letters, Yahu, also confirmed in the Tanakh with the names Yeshayahu, Isaiah, and Yeremyahu, Jeremiah. B. We need to find the last vowel before the final H. Turn to Bereshith, Genesis chapter 29, verse 35. Now I will praise YHVH. Therefore she called his name Yehuda, spelled Yod-He-Vav-Dalet-He. In comes the Babylonian vowel pointing. And from above, we know the vowel is an A, not an E. They left out and ignored the last He. Yehuda is his correct name, meaning Yah be praised. C. The whole world accepts Judah. So remove the under 500-year-old letter J, and you have U-D-A-H. Put back the Yah, remove the D, and you have the name above all names, Yahuwah. 10. Another of the translators' great blatant errors is their translation of the famous Old Covenant leader's name, spelt Yod-He-Vav-Shin-Ayin. Their corrupt vowel pointing ends with Yehoshua, We know the verse vowels are an A and a U, Yahoo, not Yeho. And then they vowel pointed another U after the shin. His correct name is Yahusha, Yah's Savior. 11. What a wonderful shadow of the coming Messiah. A. He did not take part in the golden calf sacrifice, worship. B. He remained alone in the tabernacle in the presence of YHVH. C. He was one of the faithful scouts who would enter and lead the children of Israel into the promised land. D. After Moshe died, YHVH spoke directly to him 5 times. E. His request to YHVH for the sun to stand still was met, and the scriptural comment is, there was no day like that before it or after it that YHVH listened to the voice of a man. F. YHVH magnified him in the sight of Israel. G. The name YHVH means eternal. Yahusha was the son of Nun, and this name means continual. The parallel is obvious. Eternal, continual. There are more of his special qualifications that are too many to mention here. 12. In the Brit Chadasha, New Covenant, Acts chapter 4 verse 12 states, for there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to mankind by whom we must be saved. This name is Yahusha. Satan does not want this to happen, so he invented a false name, Jesus for the Christians. His next problem arose with the Messianic movement. So he used a Babylonian false teaching that the Jewish religious leaders inherited and changed the Messiah's name to the false name Yeshua. That also takes away the credit from YHVH, who is doing the saving. Yochanan, John chapter 3 verses 16 to 18. 13. We looked up Tehillim, Psalms chapter 68 verse 4. The Hebrew letters are Yod-Heh, but the translators had to ignore the Hey, referred to note 2 above, and translated as YA. In Psalms 89 verse 8, it was worse. They translated the Yod-Heh as Lord. 14. Daniel then turned to Psalms 104 verse 35, and the letter A, Hey, is again ignored as commanded and translated Hallelujah. The same applied to all the Psalms. 15. Daniel explained that translators were so terrified by any name that had a letter Hey following a Yod that in the Koren edition they ignored and left out the original Hebrew Hey in Nehemya, Zekharya, Zefanya, and Ovadya. 16. Daniel said the Koren translators acknowledged that between the Yod and the Hey is the letter A. But in Shemot, Exodus chapter 15 verse 2, the Yod-Heh, instead of being translated YAH, they translated as Lord. A Torah instruction completely disobeyed. 17. Together we read Devarim Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 2. You shall not alter the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish from it. Repeated in chapter 12 verse 32, indicating its importance. 18. Daniel then produced a list of 134 passages where the Sophrim had changed YHVH to Adonai. I have the list to this day. 19. The final touches. Shemot, Exodus chapter 3 verse 15. Yahuwah, that is my name forever. Yeshayahu, Isaiah chapter 42 verse 8. I am Yahuwah, that is my name, and my glory will I not give to another, name by implication. not Lord or Adonai. They disobeyed as we have seen. 20. Daniel brought to our meeting the Pentateuch and Haftorahs, saying that he was going to show me another clever betrayal. He then took my Tanakh and read Ezekiel chapter 9, chapter 8 verses 9 to 14, referring to the abominations that Ezekiel would be shown. Verse 14, and behold, there sat woman weeping for Tammuz. He said that after the Babylonian exile, the leaders came back, changed the Hebrew names of the months to Babylonian names, and the worst being the Jewish calendar's 4th month, named after a Babylonian god Tammuz, making it impossible for Jewish people to sidestep the Torah instruction in Shemot, Exodus chapter 23 verse 13. And all things I have said to you be mindful of, and make no mention of the names of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thine mouth. 21. The whole of Ezekiel chapter 8 is left out of the Haftorah reading. The reason is obvious. 22. Daniel said that the Messianic prophecies left out would be a long teaching, especially Isaiah 53, Psalms 22, Proverbs 30, verse 3. What is his name and what is his son's name? However, he would get to this later. We shall deal with this in the next video. 23. To further prove that Yeshua is a false name for the Messiah, we shall quote the following. A. Amir Koren of Reuters. An ossuary with an inscription of Hebrew letters forming the word Yeshua is seen during a media tour presenting significant findings from the time of the Messiah. Beit Shemesh, Israel, March the 19th, 2017. B. Haaretz Archaeology. 30 burial boxes marked with the name Yeshua were revealed in the Jerusalem Archaeological Warehouse. Yeshua was a common name by Jews during the Second Temple period, and many Jewish religious leaders bear the name. 24. In the Tanakh, there are 10 Israeli men called Yeshua, and also a village called Yeshua, 20 kilometers east-northeast of Beersheba. Nehemya chapter 11 verse 26. 25. Such a common name could not have been forbidden or banned, resulting in the apostles being threatened, imprisoned, and beaten in Acts chapter 4 verse 18 and in Acts chapter 5 verse 40 for preaching and teaching in a certain name. 26. Only a name starting with the Hebrew letters Yod-Heh was banned. The name of the true Messiah, Yahusha, meaning Yah's salvation. This is a disgrace and needs to be answered. Why, after 2,000 years, do we still carry on abiding by Babylonian teachings and traditions? Baruch haba b'shem Yahuwah. P.S. I pray you will not be offended by the truth and enlighten others. We are given a choice. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 10 to 13. I pray you'll make the right decision. Shalom.